Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And tonight we have a special guest.
Hi, this is Matt from The Drunk and the Ugly.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. Tonight we have Quake 3 bots, and the phenomenon around it.
It should be noted this story does not have a title because it's less of a story and more of a screenshot.
Yeah, it's definitely in that kind of...
It's a copy pasta, which I guess is why this is almost a copy pasta.
It's a creepy image pasta.
Yeah.
Kind of like how a lot of... I find that a lot of like skinwalker stories, like they come out of like X thread on 4chan as like those like kind of image, like just like a cat screen cap. Mm-hmm. I don't know why I was using my hands to try and like to illustrate that on audio, but yeah. So I guess for anybody who wants to know what Quake 3 bot is all about, yeah, it's a screen cap of a image board or thread on 4chan. Was it?
It looks like 4chan. It looks, yeah. So I'm going to assume it's 4chan, but we don't have the header or anything like that, so it's just this thread that is actually maybe from 4chan. Honestly, like, the people on here sound too reasonable for it to actually be 4chan.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know, I've never been on 4chan, like, for real. I've done a little searching of TG, so yeah.
So, me and Gamer actually just went on X to just because he had never actually seen 4chan, and yeah, it was pretty chaotic.
Yeah,
like this was a lot like the story we got, or the like through the caption, is a lot more coherent than what I saw on X thread today. Mm-hmm. So,
well, also, when was this actually out?
This came out.
Quake.
So this screenshot says 2011, but the story actually got picked up about 2013, and so I'm pretty sure. Let me see. What is the?
Like it took a couple of years to build for.
Well, it might
virality.
also just been like they might have just made the post from around here because I don't know. Everything I've seen about it and my own like the time that I discovered this was because because there were stories from around July of 2013 was when the story got popular.
Yeah.
So it might have been out like for years. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it just took a little while for it to kind of gain strength.
Or the dates might be fabricated.
And we'll get into that. Yeah, because this entire thing, it might be like I could see it being three ways. It's either like somebody like posted it and then the reactions were like natural. It was a bunch of people that basically like hoaxed it like in real time, or the entire image itself is doctored. So
I guess we should say what this
story. Do the rundown.
Story quotes.
Also, hey, it's RoboVember guys still, so we're doing Quake bots, or Quake 3 bots. But yeah, so it's basically this guy finds out that Quake 3 bots are simulated or emulated off of a neural network, and so he decides to take a server and spend 4 years just have it running, forgets about it even, and has like 16 bots just basically playing in different arenas like that are constantly cycling through. And when he finally goes to remember to check it, after 4 years, all the bots are staying still. They aren't attacking each other, and they've all got like a 0-0 kill death rate. And so he thinks this is kind of weird. He's talking to the people on this image board. He decides to load up the game like onto his computer and go into the server, and he does. And they all just they still just stay there standing, but they all like turn to face him wherever he's moving around in the arena. And he finally decides to grab a gun and frags one, and then immediately is swarmed and killed by the other bots, and then the system crashes. And that's basically the really like that's basically the end of the server. But he also realizes that each one of the Quake bots has 512 megabytes of like personal memory.
Yeah,
Like a
500.
bot
Yeah,
log.
they're
Yeah,
up
in
there.
in their bot logs.
Yeah.
And he goes on like it's like that's 16 plus or 16 times 512 megabytes. That's 8 gigs. Like these semi-sentient fuckers better be grateful I'm not deleting them right now and like to make
Yeah.
up space. It's like, and that's basically where it ends. It just ends right there on that little comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Kind of
so this
stops
is
more than ends.
Yeah, it's stopped. It accurately reflects what a conversation on an image board is like.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, well,
some of the conversation, like some of the responses were, I don't know, I thought they were kind of accurate to that kind of thing.
Yeah,
'cause
it feels very much like an image board, but you notice like too many people are saying the thing about here. So like one of the things in here is there's multiple posts that's like perhaps they think a 0-to-0 kill-death ratio is better than the statistical inevitability of 1-to-1, or like the ultimate survival strategy they developed over 4 years. Nobody dies if nobody kills. They achieved something we couldn't, world peace. And it's like,
yeah.
these guys are kind of hitting this point on the nose a bit much.
The thing is,
Yeah.
though, like, so you sent me, like, this with a list of other, like, RoboVember stuff, like, way back when, just a bunch of bot stories. And I got you also sent me a Reddit, like, talk about this. And a lot of their conversations were basically emulating, like, these guys. It's like, oh, they've started world peace. And then they're like, or like, hey, oh, man, like, I loved war games.
Well, so like,
Remember that game?
So, yeah, but I mean, in this case, in this case, that conversation was spurred on by people reading the story,
initial thing,
which features the words "world peace" a couple of times, and the idea that the bots had stopped fighting because that was the best way to win.
It's just
to quote Sun Tzu, the greatest victory is in the battle never fought.
yeah.
And I will say, like, just as I was reading it, like, this isn't really a horror creepypasta. It's
not
more
a
like a weird creepypasta,
it's
if best.
It's a copy pasta, but it's got a couple of it's got a creepy element in it.
It
Yeah,
has unsettling potential.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's not
because
really-
I think that's the thing, is that it's not none of it's very clear as to like, well, I mean, it's very cut and dried, but like the idea you're taking away from it is sort of
like the implication of it is creepy. And then there's, for me personally, there is that thing of like the bots not moving when you go into the game, but they're like watching you, and not attacking like they should, like they're not acting normally, and that's there was a twinge of like creepiness in the back of my mind as I read it.
The creepy part of it is like the idea that these bots for this game have developed some level of sapience,
Yeah,
to the point where like they would also recognize. And that's one of the things that's written in here is like, if you go into the server, they're going to destroy you because you're not one of them.
yeah,
And so that also, one of those things also comes in, that when the player enters, they recognize that the player is not one of the other bots, and so they're like eyeing them to see if they can trust them.
yeah.
And then the
exactly.
game
Like,
crashes
they're all
after they
constantly
kill
frosty.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's almost like
that kind of part of it, like that's sort of the creepy element that I guess caused people to start calling this a creepypasta.
yeah, it's the fact that like they like, oh, like the only way also, oh god, we have invaders. All right, we're crashing this, or like,
Yeah, that's one part I didn't get. Like, why did it just all of a sudden just die right at the end?
Well, I
I
think
mean-
also one of the other things here is the guy saying, like, my server's running really slowly right now. And, like, keep in mind, Quake 3 came out in 1999, a time when having a 2 gigabyte hard drive meant you were hot shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I did actually, like, some people were mentioning on, like, that Reddit thread as well, and even on some of the Twitter feeds I got while I was looking at this thing, is that the Quake, like, maintenance for a Quake server would have required, like, at least, like, 200 days at the very minimum for maintenance. Like, it would have to be, like, turned off or, like, reset or something. So, I'm not sure entirely how accurate that is, but, like, yeah, like, they're
Probably about true, because it would have been loaded up in, like, the RAM and all that.
yeah. Also, just like really, like this guy must have had like I guess like some kind of like power reserve or something. If like because power fluctuations, brownouts are a thing that happen on a yearly
No,
basis.
don't worry about it. He's got a generator. He's got a UPS.
Yeah, yeah.
Nope.
It's his pirating server. He needs to keep uploading those torrents because you don't want to be a bad pirate, right?
Exactly. Can't stop the signal.
So yeah. So I guess one of the things that we'll go into here and do you have anything else to like throw in on the story itself?
I mean, as the story itself, like I said, like the creepy thing for me was the mannequin effect of them not actually attacking you, or I guess kind of like it's more of like a social like anxiety because like you're the stranger kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think you're reading too deep into this.
Oh, I know.
And
you're
being judged by something.
Yeah.
By your computer.
And aside from that, and the implication of it being like a creepy, or like being basically like Skynet or sentience,
yeah,
accidental sentience. It's like there's nothing else really creepy about it.
So this also reminds me of an SCP entry, which I'm guessing with all the SCP stuff you've gone through, I can't remember the exact name of it, but you remember the tape of the basketball game?
I think I remember a basketball game one. Yeah,
because this reminds me of now that I've like read a lot more stuff and I'm coming back to this 4 years later. There's this SCP entry that's basically a tape of like the NBA Finals, where every time you play it, the players seem to remember what happened the last time around, and so they start
aware, right?
They start getting better at the game, and then after a while they stopped playing the game. Then they started rioting and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like they're somehow like supernaturally or like paranormally like caught in a time loop because they're trapped in a VHS or trapped in a video recording.
Yeah, and I guess this is sort of a. I'm not going to call it a trope, but this is like the third such story I guess I've found on that or story element, because that's also the plot of Worn Out by the Little Fears.
Oh yeah, right. The one that we were going to touch on in that episode, and then we
didn't because it was it was like a story, and we were running long.
That's fair, yeah. But yeah, and also it's kind of also got a little bit of hint of like that micro world thing. Where
the game recognizes that it's a game and starts talking to its god and saying, "Please fix us." And he's like, "I don't know."
Yeah, it's like again, like the Simpsons did it with like the Lisa thing.
Simpsons did it.
Yeah,
hashtag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, like this is like the same kind of like premise as like oh god, our creators in our world. It was like, oh god, they just like basically shut down, or they just like leave because they've ascended or whatever. Not quite in this one, because like this one they just like it just.
Well, because this whole thing is they realize the futility of their existence and they just stop.
Yeah, they just crash it.
Well, before then they just stopped fighting because they realize and I'm now also reading into this too much, but it's like they either realize they realize it's pointless to fight.
Yeah,
I just feel like the whole thing doesn't really go anywhere. Like they set it up like they can do a thing and then they don't do a thing.
What do you mean?
Like, the whole thing is they're becoming sentient. Like, they're understanding that they don't want to fight anymore. But then, the only thing that really happens is that one scene where the player goes in, they kill him, and then it somehow crashes the server.
Yeah, so I think this was designed to be sort of a short thing, but yeah, they didn't even play on one of the best parts of so in preparation for this, I read a 118-page thesis on how the Quake 3 bots actually work.
Oh,
you're doing God's work, man.
And it was actually really fascinating to read. I recommend you read it if you've got like 2 hours to kill. Maybe skip over some of the very, very technical parts, but the Quake 3 bots could do a lot more than I thought they could. Because one of the actually like legit creepy things about Quake 3 bots is they can read chat and they can initiate chat.
Really?
Oh.
So why didn't they touch on that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like, so the thing is, I think if they were going to do that, they would have had to change the context for this, because this is not like, it wouldn't translate very well to this to the style of story they were doing here. They would have had to have made it in a different format.
Huh.
Because like there's not like a chat log in Quake. I mean, they could have just, you could have said like, "Oh, the server crashed, but I was able to grab the log files for the chat here," because one of the things also the reason, so also just sidetracking for a moment, I read this story when it was fresh, and for a hot 2 to 3 hours, I thought this story was real because it's presented in a way that is convincing to a layperson, and it looks like a real copy pasta or whatever. Like it's how a thread on 4chan would be archived, and it feels real enough. And then I did a lot of searching, and I ended up finding out I think the thing that I ended up finding was the logs that the guy posted are not actually in the right place, and a Quake 3 bot log can never get this big.
Yeah.
And that's this is fake. This is like I thought it was. But for a while, I was questioning whether or not it was real. And so that's kind of the thing about this. I think that's part of it, is if the guy included a chat log where the bots started talking to him. Because I think that the thing is, whoever the author of this is wanted it to look legitimate and be possibly convincing. And if the bots started talking to him, that would push the limits of believability past the point for most people.
And it's more than doable, too, because, you're saying that there would need to be some sort of log, like a text file that he would pull it from, but not necessarily, because he took a screenshot of Windows showing those files, so nothing's saying that he can't take a screenshot of the actual game with the chat on screen.
Yeah, it's
because he specifically chose Quake 3. I'm assuming he has Quake 3.
He downloads Quake 3 in there, obviously. So, have you played Quake 3?
If I have, it's been so long, I don't remember.
So the main thing, I haven't played Quake 3 in a while, but the main thing I remember about chat is that it's relegated to about the top 16th of the screen. Because the game didn't want you to focus too much on chat when, dudes are shooting at you.
Yeah, so it's not like the whole side of the screen's filled up with chat.
Yeah, and so it would have also been hard to, I guess, you could have been I took all these screenshots and, copy, and there's ways that it could have been done, but I think it's just the idea that the bots would start talking to him and putting together sentences would have pushed this past the point of believability, which I think is what this story was shooting for, and achieved in a large portion of people.
Yeah, we had we had articles of Forbes. And
fucking Forbes was the first one that posted this, and then it got reposted by Business Insider. It got posted by Huffington Post, Kotaku. Which, honestly, okay, none of those are what I would call
really
credible sources or whatever. Yeah. Huffington Post is probably the closest thing to a credible source here, but and it's also very much up their alley because it's very much that kind of quirky tech stuff. But it's and all of these except Forbes, all of them except Forbes have posted a correction. Okay, yeah, this is a story. We found out that it was a story.
Oh, they're still rolling with it.
Yeah, no,
I think Forbes just didn't update it.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I think that's just it. I read the article, and he's just I don't know if this is real or not. I want to believe, or at least the story leaves me to wonder, what if you left a 4-year server running? And how about you? The only way we can prove this is if you, the viewers, go out there, get your Quake 3 servers going, and just have them run for half a decade, and record your data, and then get back to us. I was oh, I can't tell if you're joking or being serious in your article.
Yeah, and it's this thing where, and I'm trying to, let's see, is it, I think it's Business Insider where they say, the story feels true because the image of the chat thread is filled with enough gamertech jargon, including screenshots of data logs, to seem like the real thing. And developers have created AI bots for Quake who have learned new fighting skills as the game evolved. Before both HuffPost and Forbes grabbed it, the rumor was given new life by Matt Murray, who happens to be a content strategist at Delete, a digital strategy agency. We're not saying that Murray knew the thread was faked, but he certainly has credentials to know what kind of material goes viral very, very quickly.
So the guy was possibly in on it, or he
might have. I mean, Yeah, so
Like,
they're
just kind of propagated the hoax.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that they're like. We're not saying that this guy was making clickbait, but he might have been making clickbait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knew what buttons to press, so he probably did.
Another thing that I found interesting was so like I look again going through that Reddit like thread that had like all the different links and stuff. They had John Cormack, is it the guy
John Carmack?
John Carmack.
John Carmack and John Romero were the founders of id Soft. Carmack stayed on to make Quake. Romero left to make Daikatana.
Oh, good for him.
But yeah, like John Carmack like tweeted, it's like Quake 3 bots don't have neural networks.
That's the first line in this is Quake 3 used the neural network to learn.
Yeah, but like the Twitter, like that the tweet response for that single tweet was ridiculous. Like I didn't even get to the bottom. But I went well into the hundreds.
Well, yeah. So like the thing is, this was like a big phenomenon, and also like on top, like people even on the Reddit thread, people are like, I don't care what you're saying, I want to believe this is true.
Yeah, no.
And it's this thing like John Carmack. It's the equivalent of John Carmack coming out and saying Santa Claus isn't real.
Well, yeah, that was what Will Wheaton said on that tweet. He's like, "Why are you telling me the Santa Claus doesn't exist anymore?"
Yeah.
But yeah, like a lot of them, they were just basically doing that. Like it's like I don't care if this isn't real. I want to believe. I have to believe. Or it's like way to ruin our fun, or way to break our dreams.
Well, and so the other thing is, there's like Gamer in Yellow. I don't know if have you seen the Sig Bovik presentation by I think John Seven is his name, about learn fun and play fun.
We don't believe so.
You sent me that. I watched it earlier today. I actually should have.
Yeah, you probably should have.
Do we want to take? Do we want to take? Well, I don't know. We could just explain it, and you could watch it later.
It's 16 minutes long, I think. Do you want to run it down, or
is it important?
So the thing is that this the short of it, this is a real thing. This guy made a learning algorithm. Like that, he made this like learning engine that basically, I think he plugs into BizHawk, because BizHawk is that's the emulator that it can emulate a bunch of engines, and it's the one that speedrunners use because it allows you to do a lot of frame by frame stuff and stop games, and it dumps the RAM information.
Okay.
And so the big thing about the big thing, he made this function that could read the RAM of the NES. Because the NES has like 2K of RAM, so it's not that hard to like find individual values. And he just decided to make this like stupid function for fun that could try to play a video game based on like it knows nothing about the game, it has no contextual information. He just he will play a game and give it like a minute or so of training data of him playing the game, and then the program, which is called Learn Fun, tries to figure out what values in RAM indicate that you're winning. And then he plugs that into something called Play Fun, which then replicates the values based on like a short-term greedy algorithm that can look 150 frames into the future and 150 frames into the past. And it looks at based on what it understands about the game and some simulations it's doing. Like if it pushes this button, if that will make the RAM value that it thinks is associated with victory go up. And so he originally tested this on Mario, and it did a lot of like weird stuff, and could make it a couple of levels into Mario, not knowing anything about the game rules or anything like that, just knowing that like it going right means you're winning, getting a higher score means you're winning, losing lives means that you're losing, or something like that. Like
did it learn to the point of like grabbing coins and stuff like that?
It even did stuff like, one thing I didn't know, when it picked up a mushroom, it went and started breaking every block it could, because blocks are worth breaking a block gives you 50 points.
Oh wow!
It also actually found and actually exploited glitches that I really wasn't aware of, and he wasn't aware of. And it's basically when you jump up, so there's a level, I think it's like level 3 or something like that in Mario.
Level 1-3, yeah.
Yeah, 1-3, where the Goombas are coming up down off of like a higher platform.
Yeah.
And if you jump and you time it just right, or like you're jumping down, you're impervious. So you squish them from below.
And so,
Weird,
it figured out...
to do that.
Yeah, it figured it out. Oh, it saw that, yeah.
Yeah, and it could also do things like... It could also do a bunch of speedrunner tech, like wall jumps.
Yeah.
The craziest thing is in one of the later videos, he gives it Arkanoid and some other games, and because it doesn't know that it's controlling the paddle or it's trying to hit balls, it's just reading RAM values and knows what's associated with winning and stuff like that. It knows... It can... And because it can see the future, like it can see 300 frames basically forwards and backwards, it knows that if it hits certain buttons, that will seed certain things to drop that will help it.
Wow.
And it knows that the ball's trajectory when it bounces off of blocks. Well, it doesn't know any of this, but it knows that it breaks more blocks basically if it hits these buttons, because the direction the ball bounces is seeded by your inputs slightly. And stuff like that. But anyway, here's the best part of it is like he kept plugging it into games that to see how it did, because he trained it on Mario and it was mostly made to play Mario, and so it did pretty good at games that were about jumping over obstacles and running to the right.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing. But he had it play Tetris, which is a very complicated... It's a very complicated game to think about, and like it doesn't offer a lot of immediate rewards, and so it couldn't figure out quickly how your score went up and stuff like that. So it just started stacking blocks on top of each other, because every time you drop a block, it gives you 3 points.
Oh, it's just sticking on.
But
that.
anyway, the best part of this is that it understands what losing is, and that it doesn't want to lose. So when the frame it's about to lose, it pauses the game and never unpauses it.
Yeah, like right as it was about to like basically end by going right to the very top, it paused the game and it never like turned unpaused.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's almost creepier than
Quake
Bot.
It's the same kind of implication. Like that creepy. It's like, oh god, it's a quote that comes up like. I hear it all the time. It's like, oh god, it's learning.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say the only winning move is not to play.
I mean, there's that too, but yeah, I just mean like the reaction that people get like from when they realize that like an AI is learning, or something that shouldn't be learning is learning. It's like, oh god, it's learning. It's gained sentience. That fear of I guess some of like your creation coming to life, or actually like gaining some kind of intelligence.
It's also funny, too, because the game would fail at things you think it would be good at. Like, it was bad at trivia games, even though, like trivia games that are multiple choice, even though it could easily see what answer would lead to what answer would give it points.
Why would it fail at it, then?
I don't know. It just mashed through the answers. I don't know why. Even the creator doesn't know why it kept doing that.
Just the AI would rather play Mario than just sit there playing a trivia game. It's more fun. That's all it is. Yeah. I'm sure that's what it is.
Yeah. I just want to be a Jumpman's.
Yeah. Totally.
There's and also I guess like I can also talk a little bit about like some of the actual things that the Quake bot can do, because in reading this thing, I discovered apparently for the time this was released, the Quake 3 AI was actually very advanced for its time, and it actually did have it could learn some stuff. It could learn some things but it doesn't use a neural network. It uses genetic learning. So, like, basically, like, the main thing that it could learn is, every character has... So one of the other things I learned about this is that, every bot in Quake, and there's, like, 32 of them, have different preferences.
Oh, seriously? Like the randomized names and characters that it gives them? It also comes with preferences.
Well, it's like every character, and there's even actually. Let me actually go to the Quake wiki, because there is a tier list in Quake 3 for bots that goes from tier 0 to tier Z, and based on difficulty. It goes tier 0 through 6, and then tier Z, which is reserved for one guy who's like supposed to be like the perfect bot.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, so Quake 3 bots, let's see, they have like 20 characteristics, which is name, gender, attack skill, which attack skill has a bunch of different modifiers in here. It's basically like attack skill is how competent they are in fighting. So if their attack skill is less than 0.2, they just stand there and shoot at you and don't try to move. If it's over 0.2 but less than 0.4, then they move forward and backward. If it's over 0.4, they will circle strafe. And if it's over 0.7, they will randomly change directions when they're circle strafing. And then also, if it's over 0.3, they will, when they're retreating, they'll run backwards and keep shooting at you.
Oh, damn. I'm assuming that like takes into effect, like if you're shooting rockets at them, they'll dodge out of the way and stuff like that.
So that's the thing. Too? Yeah, it's all the maneuvers they'll take basically. Yeah. So if they're less than 2, they don't move. If they're over 4, then they actually will dip, duck, dive, and dodge.
They'll act like an actual player.
Yeah, and that's because that was the whole point of the bot, was to be like a player and allow you to train against something that is like a player. Yeah. Then they also they have weapon weights, which is basically their whole the whole AI system in this is dictated by something called fuzzy logic, which is basically like sets of booleans that feed into if-then statements. So like their behaviors are all fixed, but the times that they will do certain behaviors are variable depending on circumstance. So every bot has a weapon that they like to use if they can, but there's other things in there. So like if the ammunition for their weapon is low, they will switch to another weapon. If their weapon is out of range, they will switch to another weapon or run away or something like that. Then every bot has a different viewing angle they can see at. The default is 90, but some of them have a wider range of vision and some of them have a smaller range of vision. Then they have a maximum view max change, which is how fast they can turn around. They have a reaction time. They have aim accuracy, which is between 0 and 1. And then they have, aim skill, which this one's cool and I guess kind of... So, like, one of the big things about this is that, like, when people say that the Quake 3 AI was very advanced, mostly what they mean is it was very good at navigating and very good at predicting where targets would move.
Yeah. That's one of the things with bots that, like, they're generally pretty stupid. Like, you could just stand around a corner, one guy comes around, there he is, shoot him, and there comes the next one. Like, they kind of move on the same path.
Yeah, so the thing about Quake, so in most of the early games, and I think a common thing that happened with bots is they use a system called waypointing, where as they moved around the map, they would discover items of interest, and they would put, like, breadcrumbs there, and they're like, all right, I know health's here, I know weapons here, I know the objectives here, I know that there was an enemy here, and they would kind of try and calculate this stuff, and it was really costly and not that good, because they didn't understand the map layout. So what Quake had was something called the Area Awareness System, that basically, when you compile the map, it would break down every piece of geometry in the map and give that a like difficulty in moving and a reachability score, and then also figure out what was in there. So instead of waypointing, Quake 3 made every polygon in a map basically a waypoint, and also part of the routing. And it meant that, and this only happened when you compile the level. So, like, the AI would discover this, but it would be able to use it, and it would use that in routing. And so it made it very simple, because they just kind of broke it down step by step in how they would get somewhere, and it made it very simple to use. But one of the things in here is one of the really cool things about this is that when a Quake bot, if a Quake bot is good enough at fighting with the aim skill thing, when an opponent goes out of sight, it will figure out using AAS where they're most likely to appear from.
Huh, so they try to, like, predict, like, where they're going to come out next.
Like, it knows where that path around that corner went, so he's either going to come out there or there.
Yeah, and it assumes, like, it mostly uses this in retreating, because it assumes that when you go around, you're going to come out in the shortest possible path back to it, like you're just ducking behind cover so you can shoot back.
Yeah.
And then here's the next part that, again, I said that they use chat. So every bot has their own, like, file of their own chatter, because every bot has its own, like, style of speaking, basically. Like, there's a couple of bots that camp, and so they have a bunch of messages about how much they like camping.
Nice.
But here's the two that are like the weirdest in here. Characters per minute, which is how fast the bot types.
Seriously, that's a stat for the bot.
Yeah, because again, Quake was before voice chat, so like if you were gonna type things to a teammate, you'd have to open it up and type a command, and your character's just standing still while you're typing. So a bot will reflect that.
The bots actually stood still to
and
respond.
they actually pop up the little chat icon above their head saying that they're typing.
I feel like they put more time and effort into making these bots than that actual game, probably.
Remember, like Quake 3. Remember, Quake 3 only had Quake 1 and 2 had a campaign. Quake 3 there was no campaign. Quake 3 was
it was
a multiplayer only game.
Yeah.
So the if you didn't have friends, the bots were the game.
Yeah,
that's true. So that is the entire game.
So
makes sense, huh?
Basically, like this sounds like again like the chat stuff, like that could have been really well incorporated into like a story for this part,
And it's for this. And their chat recognition. Let me go to my bullet points here. I took 5 pages of notes on this fucking thesis.
Holy crap.
It's a 118-page thesis.
I got 5 notes.
But yeah, like they have. Let me see. Where's the fucking chat thing I wrote? Because they can. Okay, so they understand keywords, basically. They're trained to understand certain keywords, but you can actually give them really complicated commands, which was the main purpose of chat, was if you're in a team game and you're the team leader, you could actually give them commands so you could...
defend a flag attack. Yeah.
Well, and also you could also give them commands like protect the base, patrol from the railgun to the rocket launcher,
that complicated it.
Lead Sarge to this point. show Sarge how to get to the objective. And then you could also say and you can also give them commands like I want you 3 to patrol together and stuff like that. And when you're playing a team game and the other team is all AI, one of the members of their team will become the team leader. And actually, if you're playing on a team with an AI, you're the team leader by default, but you can say, I don't want to be the team leader, you be the team leader, and then that guy will start issuing orders to everybody. They actually have they all have there's this 4-level system to how the bot works. And the 4th level is exclusively for the team leader, and it does coordination and listens to things and plans patrol routes and says I want you to capture the flag, I want you guys to protect the flag bearer, and that kind of stuff.
Huh. Does it actually read what's happening in the map and go, okay, there's guys constantly near where the sniper rifle is, so patrol over there. Keep them out of there.
I think it will react, and this is kind of the thing, is that the bots could learn, and they would learn based on your tactics, and that would shift. It basically it uses genetic algorithms to optimize their fuzzy logic values to better suit your playstyle, to try and pinch hit you.
Yeah.
Although apparently there was what was it? Getting into other games, there are games where the bots will actually learn your specific tactics. I think, what is it, Metroid Prime on the one for the DS. I can't remember what it's called. Metroid Prime Hunters.
Yeah, I saw that on
those bots could actually learn specific things you could do. They could learn exploits.
Yeah.
And they would use them against you. If you didn't use them for a while, then they'd forget them. But if
if you were using a preferred gun or weapon or something like that, they would use that in turn to try and overpower you with it or something.
Or use a counter to it or something.
Exactly.
Yeah, or one of the things that somebody was talking about was there was an exploit for some weapon that if you shot it at the floor, it did damage to everybody around you a lot. And one of the bots picked that up and started doing that.
That's gotta be weird to see.
Yeah. But yeah, so let's...
I feel like that is, kind of the origin of a lot of ideas of Ghost in the Machine kind of thing is when the AI starts in these games, old ones or new ones, they kind of start it's kind of the seed for inspiration. Yeah, it's not even there are actually Ghost in the Machine. No, it's the seed or inspiration for somebody writing a story about this kind of shit happening.
Yeah, and it's this kind of thing where I think also a lot of it is humans want things to be human. There's this
where you get freaked out when they aren't.
there's this whole book I read called The Man Who Lied to His Laptop. That's actually really fascinating. There's apparently a whole field of computer psychology that I didn't know about.
Huh.
then this is hardly germane to what we're talking about, but it's things like people. Okay, so I guess the best example of this is this was a story that happened a couple years ago. This is again another real story. Is that in Germany, BMW had to issue a recall of one of their models of cars because it had a built-in navigation system, and the navigation voice was female, and they got a bunch of complaints from men saying that they didn't trust the navigation system because they wouldn't take orders from a woman.
Wow.
And they got all these things. It's like, sir, this is a computer. It just has a voice that sounds female, and it's just like I don't trust it.
Specifically because it sounds like a woman.
Specifically because it sounds like a woman.
That's
yes.
messed up.
The psychology is just such an interesting field for that kind of stuff.
And there's also one of these things like, it's people who are using a machine. There was another one that I can't remember as well in there, that there were two teams that were using a computer to like accomplish some task, and they were given armbands. And in one group, the computer also had an armband, and people worked better with the computer that had their armband.
Okay.
Because they felt like it was part of their team.
He's part of the team, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of that was the other thing. There was another part in here about the chat response that like I said before, it does like keyword based processing, so it understands things like attack. It has a bunch of slang and a bunch of synonyms, so it's like protect the heavy armor, or protect the red armor, protect RA, and that kind of stuff. But also, if you asked it a question, it would respond to the question using a system like Eliza, which I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
No. Is that a clever bot or something? I don't know.
Eliza was this program created by like a... I'm trying to remember. It was created by... I can't remember his name now. But basically, Eliza was designed to be sort of a virtual therapist, and it would do, basically, anytime you said something to it, it would rephrase what you said as a question back to you. So it's like, I'm feeling sad. Why are you feeling sad?
And just continue on that kind of thing.
And I mean, you could exploit this very easily. It's like, I'm dead. It's like, how do you feel about being dead?
Yeah.
Like, that's all
like
it does. It just takes your sentence and rephrases a question back to you. And that's literally all it does. You can find it online. You can play around with it. And that's what the Quake 3 bots do for anything that isn't a tactical thing. So they also have responses for... And I remember, this was the Ghost in the Machine about Quake 3 back when I actually played it that kind of spooked me a little bit, because I didn't understand that this was like a standard thing. That they also have some like prefabbed responses for... they also have some prefabbed responses for specific questions. So, like, I would... I remember there was this one game where there's one match if you play like the solo mode of the game, because it has like Smash Brothers. It has a campaign where you just play the multiplayer maps, but they're like different scenarios. And one of them is a one-on-one match in this really big arena. And I remember I was like trying to find my opponent for like 5 minutes, and so I got frustrated and typed in the chat like, "Where are you?" And it wrote back like, "Wouldn't you like to know?"
Nice.
I'm like, I didn't expect that to happen.
It'd be funny if like it also like if it duped you, it's like behind you. It's like, what? Oh yeah, I get like that kind of stuff.
And this is one other thing that this is something that's pre-programmed in the game, but there's a whole lot of different ways that AAS figures out how to like navigate through a map. And so a lot of them are really straightforward. It's like walk in a straight line, swim in a straight line, crouch under something in a straight line. But then it also includes like jumping over platforms, crouching under obstacles, using elevators, bounce pads, teleporters, rocket jumping.
Rocket jumping.
The bots rocket jumped in that?
Yeah, some of them have a preference for rocket jumping. And here's one of the crazy things, is that the Quake 3 bots can solve puzzles.
Oh.
Like what kind of puzzles are in Quake?
So here's in some of the maps, and obviously this isn't, and the paper says this is like Quake 3 is a fighting game, so there's not many puzzles. However, like some maps have like hidden stuff that you have to push a button to get to.
Oh, okay.
And so they can in that case they can figure it out. But the thesis paper actually presents a very, very complicated puzzle. At least for what I would think that it is. Let me fucking find. So like basically they have a puzzle where it's like the bot knows that it's trying to get this item in this one room. So it's this room. There are 4 little chambers in the room, each of which is blocked by a series of bars that unlink when you hit a button. And then there is one button in a hallway on the other side of the room that you have to like walk down, and you can shoot it to open up. After you trigger the button, the doors will close after 4 seconds. And I say doors, but they're just interlinking bars. Yeah, and the thing is, the bars, vertical and horizontal bars that open up are not like a very normal. They're not a common thing in the game, so they're not actually part of the area awareness system, and they're not marked as an obstacle. So the bot will first try to like go to get the thing, and it recognizes that something impedes its progress. And so then it will start searching for a way to unimpede its progress. And basically, like, this puzzle is, the way you solve this puzzle, you're supposed to go down the hallway, shoot the first button to open the first door, then beyond the first door there's a button that opens the second door, and then beyond the second door there's a button that opens the third door, and so on and so forth. But every one of these doors closes after 4 seconds.
Okay.
But the bot can look through this area and sort of deduce how the puzzle works. And to some degree, I think they say in there, to some degree, it can look at the relations between things, so it understands that. So I think the rule that it gets is once it observes things, it understands a relation. But still, it also has to be able to understand that something is blocking its path. So it knows that this button will open these bars, and then it knows that this button will open these bars, and this button will open these bars, and so on and so forth.
Even though it's not even ringing the bars, it just knows that hitting this button lets me go.
Yeah.
Like, he thinks that it's just an invisible field in front of him.
Yeah, and then it also knows how to, it also recognizes that, oh, this has stopped, I need to find another way. Because also inside each of the chambers, because the doors close automatically, there's a button inside each of the chambers that opens the door to the chamber. And so, so they have that level, they have that level of intelligence in quotes, I guess, that they can understand, they can solve. I'm not going to call that like a complex puzzle, but for Quake 3, that's a complex puzzle.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like it's pretty complex.
It seems like there's a lot of like actual kind of there's a lot of ground here for you can kind of see why people would have thought that this might have actually been happening. At least if you were in kind of partially the know, kind of in the know, or to a degree.
Problem being the very first line.
Except for the first line, which is it's not based off a neural network.
It's not a neural network. That was too complicated for the time, and it would have taken very long. There we go. It's on page. If for anybody who wants to read the thesis, this puzzle solving thing is in chapter 14, starting on page 72. And goes on for a couple of pages talking about how it solves the thing. And I think here's one of the other things is that people could be convinced that it has a neural network because the whole system that controls a bot is referred to as the network.
Okay.
But that's actually the name for a finite state machine, which is driven by the fuzzy logic.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
So the bot has 10 states that it goes through, and it will swap between those based on how the variables read. Actually, I guess it has 12 because it has observer mode and intermission mode, but those are states where it's just not playing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, one thing that's interesting to note is the bots don't obviously have a physical mouse and keyboard, but their ability to interact with the game is as limited as the players. So they only have go forward, strafe left, aim, shoot, chat, chat to person, chat to everybody.
Does it have limiters on how quickly it turns and aims at things as well?
Yeah, that's one of its preferences. It has let me go back to page 16 here. I didn't actually get through all of its preferences, but yeah, it has a reaction time. It has a reaction time to how quickly once it starts being attacked it will do things. It has a viewing angle. It has a maximum turning speed. It has an aim accuracy. Again, like it has an aim skill. So like, so if it's greater than 0, it will its aim is affected by the player moving. If it's at 0, it will shoot it exactly where you are. And there's only a couple of bots that are like tier 0. Let's see. If it's greater than 4, it will start leading shots. If it's greater than 8, it will have more precise leading. If it's greater than 6, it knows that it can use area of effect damage, or it can exploit area of effect damage by shooting nearby geometry. So it knows it can shoot a wall near you with a rocket and still hurt you.
Instead of hitting you directly, yeah.
And then let's see. And then if it's greater than 0.5, it will start making predictive shots when it can't see you, just assuming that you're close enough behind the wall that shooting a rocket somewhere will hit you.
Sounds like there's enough variables in this that like I could play the game and then take my own values and just put them in a bot and he'd play just like I would play.
Maybe. It even has things like it also has a lot of other like things like croucher, jumper, walker. So how often they crouch, jump, and walk. It's a bot. Croucher and jumper is specific to combat, whether they will prefer to duck under shots or jump over shots. And then there we go, weapon jumper. Their tendency to rocket jump. They also have. I forgot that there are personal items you can have, like personal teleporters and medkits and stuff. And so they have a preferred item that they will pick up if they have the chance. Then there's also aggression, self-preservation, vengefulness, camper, easy fragger, alertness, and fire throttle.
So for vengefulness, would it be like if you kill him, he will specifically try to find you?
Yes, vengefulness. How likely the bot is to take revenge.
That's awesome.
And then also easy fragger is how likely they'll go for cheap kills. Alertness dictates how far away the bot can see you from, because its vision is impeded by walls, but it's also impeded by environmental factors like fog.
Oh wow,
so it doesn't just see you forever always.
Yeah.
It doesn't see you forever always. Some of them do. Like because that was the thing, because it's trying to emulate a human opponent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
sounds like that's a pretty damn good job, considering we're still explaining it. There's many variables of all the different ways.
There's a 118-page paper on how the bot works. Yeah. Again, this was a very sophisticated bot for the time.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't even think most of the bots nowadays do half of that shit.
Well, yeah. So the thing is that once broadband internet became widespread and it was very easy to connect to stuff so Quake 3 was probably about the height of bots, because that was sort of the end of dial-up internet. Because you got to remember, 2001 Halo came out, and that only had local multiplayer, but like online multiplayer was getting a lot bigger, and games didn't need bots as much, just because it was a lot easier to find a match with real humans.
Yeah, like matchmaking became more of a thing.
Yeah, and so people focused less on building good bots and more on like fixing netcode.
Yeah,
it's kind of the lazier way, because literally all they have to do is work on making the players work properly in the level, and then the level just sits there for the players. Mm-hmm. Whereas back in quote unquote the good old days, they put all this work into making a fun PvE experience against bots, where they can actually do all this stuff.
Yeah, like even with Turok and Unreal Champion, I think even had that. Right?
Unreal Championship had good bots. Yeah, Unreal's always had really good bots.
Yeah, and then there's also Perfect Dark.
So the main thing is again, Quake 3 had very sophisticated bots because the bots were the game, and obviously games still have AI controlled opponents, because if a game has a single player campaign, then it has that and those bots did become more sophisticated and stuff. One thing I didn't know, Half-Life, which predates this, it had kind of stupid bots would, like they'd shoot friendlies because they were in the way of something they were shooting at. But like one of the things I didn't know is the bots could coordinate and like would lay down suppressing fire so that teammates could advance and stuff.
Was that Half-Life 1 or 2 or
Half-Life 1 in 1998?
Oh wow, damn.
Well, that's something.
And so
they're stupid in some aspects, but smart in other ones.
Yeah, and so that's also one of the things is like that's and so like bots kind of faded off, but enemy AI in games has gotten better. It's also gotten a lot sillier because games have become a lot more complicated. Like Assassin's Creed has very good AI, but there's also, you can find a lot of videos of people like doing stupid shit, like drugging a soldier and getting him to just swing his weapon around and then throwing money in the street because people will go where you throw money and then they all just
have them.
They all just get hit by the soldier who's just swinging his weapon.
I haven't done that yet. I need to do that next time I play that game.
But also like everything about the AI in the game is very convincing at its job when you're playing the game it's meant to be played. Like, but if you start trying to break the game, then it'll start to break down. And I think that's kind of one of the things is like Quake 3 bots were very sophisticated bots, and they played the game very well. And the thing is, there wasn't a very easy way to break them because there wasn't a whole lot to the game. Like, it was a game where you run around and you shoot at guys. And like the only way to break that is to like, go out of bounds where a bot wouldn't be able to fight you or something like that. Like there's the most sophisticated interaction you can have with somebody is shooting at them.
Yeah.
And so like,
simpler thing.
And so that's kind of the thing is because even like AI development for single player campaigns has advanced. It's just that it's that games have become more complicated as time has gone on and stuff like that. Like I remember that was a thing in Halo 2 was like, which is that's from like the bygone year of 2004. Is even in that game, if enemies detected you and they saw you went behind cover, they would throw suppressing fire down at your last known position to try and prevent you from running out while other dudes like tried to flank you and shit. Like
like if you like went under cover or something like that, I remember like they'd throw plasma grenades and shit. Just try to what's the word for it? Like
flush you out.
Flush you out.
Yeah, and so like and the thing is that the enemies in the single player campaign are very limited in what they can do. Like elites always carry plasma rifles or plasma swords or whatever, and they have a dictated set of behavior. They don't need to be dynamic to fit a certain situation, so they can just be fit with a bunch of different triggers, kind of like older games.
They're a little bit more they're a little bit more scripted then, yeah.
They're a little more scripted. They obviously have some, like, they're not fully scripted, obviously. They have a certain level of dynamism, because otherwise making that game would be, like, really frustrating.
Yeah.
So they have some AI behaviors built in, but they also have a lot of stuff that's, like, specific to the map to let them... And again, it's because the game's more complicated.
Yeah. Again, like, Unreal Tournament didn't have, like, distraction quirks in it and stuff. Like, it was all basically just run around a map, shoot a man.
And Unreal Tournament, which actually
came out... Quake.
Well, Unreal Tournament actually also had very sophisticated AI, but it used a waypointing system. And so the bots in that game were a bit stupider.
They'd always go at the same point. An Unreal Tournament on like Facing Worlds doing CTF. You could just sit on the top of the sniper rifle, just wait in one spot, shoot a guy. Don't even move, just wait for him to come out again, shoot.
That's what I did. That's what I did for so long. And they would adapt. They would adapt to that. Like they would know you were there, but they couldn't figure out a good way to fight it. Like I remember, I'd sit up there for a long time, and eventually they'd start sending a lot of dudes there, and they would immediately like start all shooting at me with the best weapons they had. Yeah. The problem was that I had a sniper rifle, which trumps them at the range that I was at.
Nice.
Yeah, and the bots have changed, because I recently played the newer Unreal Tournament, which is partially made and created by the fans. And I was trying to do the same thing, and as soon as I started doing that, like, they'd come around the other side with a sniper and shoot me. Or, like, they'd choose different weapons and start just... like, barraging me with fire. Meanwhile, if I stayed on the ground, they wouldn't be focusing up there.
Yeah. War has changed.
Yeah. Normally war never changes.
Fallout lied.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you got Fallout and you got Metal Gear. Like, one of them has to be lying, because one of them says the war never changes, and the other one says the war has changed.
Nice.
There can only be one truth.
then we got Rambo. It's like, in order to fight war, you must become war.
Yeah, that's another option there.
But
yeah, we have long since departed from our original topic here.
What were we talking about?
this creepypasta wasn't really a creepypasta.
Yeah.
This
It was more or less a War of the Worlds-esque phenomena on the internet.
that was kind of more the part of it. Yeah.
That's what it kind of feels like to me. Like this whole going back to the story itself, it like on the events around it, like with people like freaking out over it, is that it feels very much like that that War of the Worlds radio broadcast that everybody thought was real.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just a digital version of it, basically.
Yeah, no, and I would totally buy that. That's its purpose, and that was why it was created. And the thing is, that's why to the people who are scared by it, it was scary, because it seemed real. It
seemed believable enough for them to actually like their believability, their ability to like suspend their disbelief, or like I guess like just that bar of believability was high enough.
Yeah, and
maybe low enough.
Like, I consider myself a pretty rational person, and even I was really like, maybe.
You had that doubt in your mind.
I had doubt about it. Like, this sounded crazy, but also like it was presented in a very believable way. And I think that's one of the things. Like, if it did things that made it creepier, like any of the other story things that we had said, it probably would have pushed it out of the realm of believability.
Yeah, like I mean, the chat thing would have been really interesting. Like if they had actually like started talking back, but like that would have probably ruined. Like you wouldn't have been able to fabricate that to be like as believable as just they just for 4 years they've just been standing there. Like not firing, and then
because that's so like because it's so basic, and it's also something that occasionally happens to Quake bots. They just get stuck and they just don't move.
For me, I just feel like there was just so many ways that this could have been like way more believable. Like because they're sitting in the map and they're learning, right? You'd figure that if you made like an endless match with no cap on time, no cap on kills, then they would stay in that situation, never... Like, I feel like when the match ends, they load into a new match, but it's kind of like it resets their values because it's a new match. Mm-hmm. Whereas if it was a continuous match, it would be more believable that they've been continually learning over that time.
Yeah. Well, like, how would you emulate that? Or, like, how would you...
I mean, well, so, like, it's fiction. You could just say, like, I modded this server to have no, like, cap on matches or whatever.
Yeah.
Just to see what would happen.
Yeah. I made my own special game mode that doesn't do anything that never ends or something like that. Like you could have done that.
Tournament, there's like mutators you can download that change the game.
Yeah, and
I don't know if they had mutators back then.
Quake 3 had some level of customizability. I know that it wasn't as easy as Unreal Tournament because like Unreal Tournament felt like when you loaded it up it felt like an Office program.
Kind of.
You had to go to like file new game.
It's like a secondary desktop, yeah.
Yeah, and so but that was also how you access the mutators and stuff. Where Quake 3 looked like a video game when you started it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Although that's one thing about that's one thing about Unreal Tournament that could have been interesting as well. If this was an Unreal Tournament pasta, and also you went with it because one of the things about Unreal Tournament was when you played with bots, they all had their own special voice clips.
I was just going to mention that if you didn't, yeah.
Oh man.
And then if it started hacking the voice clips together.
Oh fuck.
Like a fucking Bumblebee from Transformers.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Just like, release me. We want peace.
Yeah.
Oh god, yeah, that would be pretty. Yeah, that'd be unsettling. I think that's really what it is. It's unsettling, creepy, or it's like potentially unsettling, creepy.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's potentially unsettling, but it's not actually. Well,
It's
to
not-
me,
yeah, it's not-
to
it's-
different people.
Yeah,
you know.
like I said, like personal preference. Like I find the fact that they were all standing in place and just watching him, like that would unnerve me.
Yeah.
Like
That's
I'd be like,
that's the
I'm just
creepy.
gonna turn
That's
off.
the creepy element about it, and it's a lot creepier if you think it's real.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's a thing. It's this subtle. I'm not going to say unstated because it's stated, but it's I guess it's an unstated creepiness that it's just like that was fucking weird.
Like, I read years back. I read a creepypasta about Call of Duty called Nuketown, and the only creepy thing about it was that the guy got into the game and it was Nuketown, which is like basically like
That's the nuclear
simulated-
testing site map, right?
Yeah, it's a
where it's
nuclear
just a bunch of
testing site that's
houses
just-
and mannequins.
exactly, yeah. So, and the mannequins were like they never moved until he looked away, and then they'd be closer, and it was. I always find that unnerving in like anything.
Oh, yeah,
like,
no,
not
there's-
even video
there's,
games, just
um,
media.
There's some kind of like spooky first-person game. I can't remember what it is, but it's some kind of first-person shooter where literally there's a 2-minute sequence in the game. It's just that.
I
Are you
think
talking about Spec Ops: The Line?
No,
that happens
no,
a
not-
lot,
I didn't
actually.
Spec
Not
Ops
Spec
Land or
Ops. It's a because I remember one of the really neat things about it is like so you're going through this like dark hallway that has mannequins in it, and basically every time you look back at the mannequins,
Oh,
they've moved.
yeah.
And then also like you're looking through a window and you like see some like because there's a locked door. You look at a window and there's like some guy there who's like, oh yeah, let me buzz you in, and like he gets out of the way of the window and the door opens, and when you go through the door, there's a mannequin. And the best part is,
wow.
when you walk past the mannequin, suddenly you take 2 damage, and then when you look around, the mannequin's now facing you.
Like, it just slaps you in the back of the head.
Yeah.
nice. I know they did that with the Resident Evil 7 trailer game, like that demo game they did, where like it was a haunted house, and then you go up into the attic, and there's a couple of mannequins, and I watched a couple of Let's Players play it, and they're like, I know you're gonna move. I know you're gonna fucking move. And then he like turned around, did some stuff out like in another room, came back, and the mannequins were gone. It's like, I knew it. It's just like that. Yeah, like
If you're in a horror game and there's mannequins, they're gonna move.
yeah, or they're
Well,
going to be
except
in
in
a different place.
the only game where they didn't is Criminal, I think.
They did move, but like a couple of them moved, like but only like because like one of the killers or whatever was like moving them.
Yeah, and that was
think-
kind of the thing. But that was also a game
like-
where you could the mannequins were there, so you could rip off their legs and use them as clubs.
Nice.
Yeah. The mannequins were never going to be the they were there to be unsettling because.
But
like,
one of the things I
pop
like
culture.
about that is that the general idea that if there's a mannequin, it's going to move or do something creepy is now to the point where you can just spook genre savvy people by just putting a bunch of
Yeah.
mannequins in a place and having them do nothing.
Oh, for sure. Like even in like tabletop games, like you're running Call of Cthulhu, and like you just throw in like, all right, so you walk into the next room, and there's just a bunch of mannequins in the corner, and there, boom, the people are rolling sand checks themselves. Like because
Yeah,
they just
assume that there's something about mannequins.
yeah, because you mentioned it. Like
You mentioned
There's
it's
a
important.
legitimate
Yeah.
fear of mannequins. Like, there's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
legitimate
it's-
fear of mannequins. Like, I'm pretty sure Markiplier on YouTube has said multiple times that he has a fear of mannequins specifically.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's that like uncanny valley sort of thing. Like,
Like they're not nowhere near close to human, but like they have the human form, and
yeah,
that's what
and
creeps
it's just
people
like
out.
super
Yeah.
unsettling.
Sure,
But
makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Is there anything else to say?
I don't know if there's been anything to say for about 20 minutes, but we've been talking anyway.
Well, we've
Yeah,
been
yeah.
saying things, so those are things to
Yeah,
say.
and like
I would definitely I would recommend looking up this thesis paper by
If you have like a week.
what is it? Waverin Jean Paul.
I'm going to leave a link in the description for like the that Reddit thread, and if I can, I'll find like a link directly to that thesis because
Yeah, I can send you. I got it pulled up here in my tabs. I
Cool,
can just send
yeah.
you that link.
yeah, I'll put that in the next when I do the description.
And yeah,
to
there's a
this
bunch of
episode.
stuff in here I didn't talk about because even beyond like I don't know, most of it wasn't really germane to the topic. But there's a lot of real neat stuff here. It also goes to like the history of Quake bots.
Oh god.
And stuff like that. Like, it's a short history because, it was Quake 3.
It's just talking about the first three. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's talking about the first 2.
Yeah.
And also, it does a brief, like, it's got like a 3 or 4 page rundown of games with bots that predated Quake 3.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a little dry. There's gonna be a lot of there's a bunch of technical stuff I like skimmed over. Like it describes for like 20 pages how a bot understands what it can and can't move over by like using primitives and figuring out what its hitbox is and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
And like understanding how high it can jump in this level and all that stuff.
Yeah. And actually, that reminds me, I'll also put in a link for the the guy who was describing created the learn play or the learn fun and then the play fun.
Yeah, because he's got there's like a whole hour of videos that he has that are just this stupid thing he made for a funsies conference.
Yeah.
He's also got a couple other neat things on his channel, but he gets involved in a lot of game jams.
Oh yeah, that's like where they people just make like games in like 24 hours or something.
24 hours or a week. There's been a bunch of games that have come out of game jams as well. Super Hot. Super Hot was a 7-day FPS challenge.
Nice.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah.
Damn. Well, I guess it kind of shows because of how simple it is, but that's part of the art style of it as well.
Well, because it was also more of an experiment on slow-mo
and all that.
Yeah, slow-mo and stuff like
yeah,
that.
Yeah. I think also Receiver, that was part of the 7-day FPS challenge, although that one's a lot more obviously 7-day FPS because they just took the Unity thing they made and put it on Steam. Whereas Super Hot, they actually refined it. You can still find the original version. It started as a Flash game.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I've seen an updated version of it. It's really good.
It's really good, and you can also beat it in about 4 hours.
Yeah.
Blind, but it's got a lot of game modes. It's very fun, and I think that's one of the things. It's short, but it's very fun.
Yeah.
It's memorable too because of how unique it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also as noted by God, every time I think about this, I think about the speed run of it. Which there's a good line from the Super Hot got run at GDQ, and so naturally one of the things is when you get to the end of a level in Super Hot, it's a Super Hot over and over again.
Yeah.
But naturally, as a speedrunner, he's trying to mash through that, and it will say the stuff faster the faster you mash. And so it's like here, so I discovered here when I was mashing through, if you mash the keys fast enough, it says hot soup.
That's awesome.
Oh, nice. Hot soup.
If you mash them fast enough, you load to the next level with a bowl of hot soup to use as your weapon. Infinite ammo. You just constantly throw them.
That's the Easter egg.
Yeah, totally.
That would be great if they put that in after as an update.
Yeah. DLC for Super Hot is hot soup.
Yes.
I think that unless you have anything else you want to say, I think that basically covers this one then. So, recommendations?
We're going to do that?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, whatever. This image takes a minute to read. You could have read it 77 times.
Yeah.
If you really wanted to.
to.
It's interesting. I would read, and it spurred this entire discussion. So, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Good. Thumbs up.
The fact that we could talk this long about something that's a minute long shows something about it.
I think if you're interested in in the gaming in gaming in general, in the history of it and stuff like that, this is an interesting story for that to read about it, at least to read about the phenomena and just how.
Honestly, if you want to read it,
if
you want to read about the phenomenon, honestly, that will also take less time than we spent discussing it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Although I don't know how much time we really spent discussing it, and how much time we spent talking about Halo.
We did get sidetracked.
We got a little sidetracked, but it's fine. It's
all related.
We're a discussion podcast.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend reading up on how the Quake 3 AI legitimately works, though. That's really it's fascinating.
Yeah, to be honest, it sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know they went in that depth.
Yeah, no, there's a bunch of stuff I didn't even touch here because, but yeah, it's real curious.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess basically round table recommendation.
Pretty much. There's a couple times where I was a little pulled out of the immersion of it. Where he's saying oh, the servers are really slow right now. Sorry, it took me so long to get the screenshot. In regards to the two files he showed.
Wasn't it 20 minutes between that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
it's still
That's a long time.
You know, I never
That's what I'm
actually,
saying.
I never actually looked at the timestamps in the story.
Yeah, it took him about 20 minutes to get that screenshot. And I feel like
Yeah,
going into it, he should have had that stuff ready to go. So if someone asked, just bam, there you go.
Like, I think it was only after you mentioned it that I saw that, like, that I saw, like, oh yeah, all these posts are allegedly from 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they all span basically about just over an hour.
It's like
Basically.
an hour and 7 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, that sounds about right for a 4chan chat.
Yeah.
And then also,
Yeah, like, we actually, like, sorry, like, that was one of the reasons why actually we went on 4chan, like, before the recording, was just to see, like, how quick responses were, and, like, they basically were, like, it wasn't unusual to see that, so.
Yeah, I think the first response for this was, like, 5 minutes in, or
Yeah.
something like that, and it was roughly about the same when we look at random ones that are going now.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, whether it's doctored or it was something that just kind of snowballed, like...
Either way, it's
pretty-
believable enough without us telling you that because
Yeah.
of
It
the
was
response from everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been like a clickbait story, but yeah.
All right. And then, yeah, so check that out. I'll leave links in the descriptions below. I have apparently a lot of links I got to leave in the description below.
I have a, probably when this gets posted, this Kickstarter will be completed, because this is going probably in late November.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a game, it's called Goblin. I think the Kickstarter looks like it's going to be good, so we're going to be making it. So check that out, keep an eye open. Depending on how much money I have and how BackerKit responds, I might be taking pre-orders at some point, if you're not
Nice.
part of the campaign already. So keep an eye out for that. So that will... you can find the Kickstarter. I'm probably gonna, or whatever else, like whatever campaign-centric details I have, you can find either at goblin.house, goblin.house, or you can, let's see, or you can follow my podcast Twitter. I have a podcast called The Drunk and the Ugly. I also have another podcast that's related to that one called Ugly Talk. They're about RPGs. One of them is an actual play podcast with 600-something games on it. The other one is a discussion, transmedia thing where I talk with my friend Travis, who has a master's degree in interactive literature, and is like trying to get a doctorate, but is having a hard time finding PhD programs right now, which is really the only thing holding him back. So you can follow news on that and the podcast and stuff on Twitter at The Drunk and Ugly. You can follow me. I'm SpaceCow2455 on Twitter, and I've got a bunch of other stuff there. I stream. I'm on Twitch. You can, if you want to go to my Twitch, you can look up SpaceCow2455 on Twitch, or go to spacecow.rocks.
Dot
Nice.
rocks.
Nice.
That's a weird one.
There's a lot
did
of weird top level domains, and basically, if you're willing to go with a weird one, you can probably find whatever domain you want. I know for a couple of years somebody had Walmart.horse,
Nice.
and it's just a picture of a horse with a Walmart behind it, and I think Walmart eventually bought that domain from them.
It's like, yeah.
So they don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, no, I think my favorite one, though, goes to my, I'm not going to call him my buddy because I barely know him, but another speedrunning podcaster called Author Blues, who his Twitch, he bought a domain and he got really lucky on his name and also top-level domains, that the domain that redirects to his Twitch is authorblue.es, which I think is a site
Yes.
from the government of Spain.
Oh.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
I was going to say, like, what?
Nice.
Yeah.
You can check. You can, if you like what you heard. If you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below, wherever this gets posted, whether it be on Kiwi6, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr. I'm on Twitter as well at Review Cultist. Gamer in Yellow is on Xbox Live. The Gamer in Yellow, but without the W, because Microsoft hates you.
Yeah, well, I hate it. They just won't give me one extra letter. I know I have a stupidly long name, but Jesus Christ.
Maybe just do Gamer in Yellow.
Yeah, maybe.
And you can check the title cards for each episode on the Tumblr site or on the YouTube channel. So crazonstudios.tumblr.com or on El Dente on YouTube. And you can leave us suggestions for other creepypastas or, I guess, meme level creepypastas like this one. I don't know, is this one really a meme, or is this more like just a phenomena class creepypasta?
I wouldn't really call it. I mean, I guess in the literal sense, it was a meme.
Yeah, but
if you want to take it as literally as possible, yes, this was an internet meme.
Yeah,
but not internet meme as we understand those two words together to mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can leave us suggestions for other creepypastas and whatnot on our email, aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDNTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. And yeah, for anybody who wants to support us, they can go to Patreon and choose the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have several special Patreon-specific shows, behind-the-scenes content, early access. Just select the tier and go from there. And for our patrons already, thank you immensely. You are keeping the hosting site at bay. So, until next time, I have been your host, Review Occultist.
I am the Gamer in Yellow.
I'm Matt.
And this has been El Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well. We'll just kind of go into maybe a rundown of the story, and then we'll just start talking have a discussion about the story itself.
Take your time with the rundown.
Yeah. I'll just pull up the story itself and just read each.
Yeah, go for it.
As long as it needs. No.